The Trevor Bauer situation is somebody who's advising biggest contract in MLB history at the time of when he did sign.
Talk about a guy who's been preyed on.
Yeah. So, like, what would you do with that situation if you could sit Trevor Bauer down right here and go start to finish? This is what I would have done. This is what I think you should do. And then also the lost wages of you had X amount of dollars. She slandered your name. You lost it all. It's been debunked. She lied. She was full of shit. Sorry, I shouldn't have sworn. But, like, what do you do now? Where would you start with that?
I mean, things after the fact are always very difficult, right? So the conversation is different from where you start to pick up the pieces from if you could roll time back, which none of us can do. You know, obviously, had there been conversations on the front end, it's the same sorts of things we've been talking about over the course of this talk. You know, make smart decisions, trust no one, be really careful with who you're parking your head on a pillow with. Because there's a lot of traps. There's a lot of people.
That's really tough to do for 18 to 30-year-olds or 35-year-olds. Men in general, man, that's tough. That's a tough lesson to teach.
It's the toughest.
Well, especially for dudes, like we love beautiful women. That's the currency. And when you're making 120 sheets and you're the top pitcher in the world and you have access to all these beautiful women, how are you going to say no to all these beautiful women knocking at your door? Like, what would you advise them on that?
You just got to be careful. I mean, you've got to think with the right head. And if you're thinking with the wrong head, you're in big trouble. And he for other people, he's the guy you can point to now, right? And say, listen, you might be on the top of the world, you might have signed the biggest contract, but as we said, no one's too big to fail. And that is example A1 of someone who made maybe not the best choices and literally cost him his career.
Chris Rock said it best, where he said, men can stop chasing, but it's really hard to say no when you're being chased. And when you're being chased that much, that's tough.
And when you're a pro athlete, everyone's chasing you.
Yeah.
Financial advisors, consultants, really pretty men and women. It's a tough lifestyle. And you can either fall into the trap of feeling like you're immune to it all until people start chipping away at your armor. And again, now it's too late. Or you can understand the situation that you're in and understand that celebrity is a really weird thing that you may not have been properly prepped for and take the steps in advance to try to insulate yourself. And there's a lot of things that can be done. Or you're going to fall into the same traps as everybody else. And I think it's tough for athletes who, their whole life have been told the odds of you making it are zero, right? You'll never make it. I don't care how good you are. The odds are so much against you. And they've made it, right? They beat those odds. But statistics are not dependent on one another. They're all independent. And just because you beat those odds don't mean you're going to beat other odds. And you've got to understand that. It doesn't mean because you made it here, you're going to beat the divorce odds. You're going to beat the bankruptcy odds. You're going to beat all these other things because you're not.
To use the Bauer analogy, though, like if you're advising him, like what type of steps would you take to protect him? Might take around a couple of dates first.
Well, never mind that. What do you do now, I think, is the question. I think like after all of this, what's the next big step? Because like we said, I don't think you can really coach that saying, well, let me pick the girl for you, right?
But you could use him as an example of like, this is how we, like, give me a credit check. Let's see, make sure she got some money. She's not.
Well, Mr. Beast even said, he goes, when he's met a lot of women, but they have to check all of these boxes. And he had 10 boxes that had to be checked. And that's when he started dating the most recent girl. And I think that's, I don't know if that's just experience or what it is, but there's a guy who said, no, before I even think about it, they have to check these boxes.
What are the boxes, by the way?
He never said.
Oh.
I have a friend who's a celebrity who, I won't mention his name. He had a contract he had people sign. Almost like a confidentiality mini prenup just to date him because he was smart enough he was a pretty smart guy. And he knew that there was exposure. And notwithstanding that, he had people sue him for things.
Didn't Chappelle do a bit about an NDA before any emotional reckoning was going to happen?
It's almost funny, but it's the life that it's at least the mentality that you've got to be in. Again, trust no one. Make people earn your trust. It's not like normal people where I sort of trust you until I don't. It's got to be the reverse of that, where I don't trust you until I do.
What a world. That kind of goes against the whole,
Sucks.
Well, it's the whole basis of what your country was built on, which is innocent until proven guilty. And now you got to treat everyone as guilty before you can say, all right, you're okay.
But if the law is not in your favor, then you got to take it back in your own hands and say, okay, well, how can I protect myself, right? And then on the topic you just mentioned, I remember hearing from a reliable source that Drake and Bieber both, if you want to date, you want to even go for a coffee, you're signing this NDA, that's it.
But again, even an NDA is only as good as the paper it's written on, right? So if I sign an NDA and I disclose something, I can't unring that bell. The information's out. So maybe there are financial consequences, but if I'm some schmo without a lot of dollars, I mean, sort of going back to the question you posed with Trevor Bauer, what does he do? Can he sue this woman? What assets does she have? I mean, maybe he gets a victory in court, but what that gets him is a piece of paper saying that this person owes him millions of dollars when she's got 2 nickels to rub together.
Well, coming from a guy who went through a very lengthy lawsuit, more often than not, they ain't worth it. Like, they're really not, man. They're hard on the family. They're hard on your psyche. They're hard on your sleep at night. They suck. They absolutely suck.
So what does Bauer do then? Because he had the tweet the other day, I'll play for $0 with just incentives. I want to pitch. I'm the smartest, best pitcher on the planet. Nobody will sign me. What do you do?
I mean, the fact that he is doing that tells you everything you need to know, right? I mean, the only thing you can do is pick yourself up by the bootstraps and try to rebuild. But again, Jack Johnson had time on his career. Bauer's sort of towards the end of his career. I think teams are going to look at someone like that saying, listen, even if you're good, do I want the baggage that comes along with you? And the answer is probably no, because maybe the difference between him and the person with the clean record is so infinitesimally small that they're better off with the other guy. And that sucks for Bauer.
If you enjoyed what you just saw, we do new clips every single day, twice a day on the Clips channel. You see clips right here. And beside Dave's crotch, we have a full-length show every single Sunday right by my hand.
Click right here.